Thank you, Kara. Appreciate it. And thank all you all for being here today. This is tremendous that SSDP has this event and is putting on this conference. All of you activists and students out there that care about the planet. And what I'm going to do is, this is going to be a 12, 13-minute slideshow, and then want to open up the discussion. So you guys start thinking about classes and subjects and papers that you have written on cannabis hemp or that you want to, and we'll just sort of talk about how we can incorporate this into our academic studies. So we'll just kick it off. So the cannabis curriculum is, it doesn't matter what subject you're taking, there's something you can relate it to, either the benefits of cannabis hemp or the devastating effects that prohibition has on society. So you're in school anyway, you might as well study something cool like cannabis. You could do term papers, school projects, research efforts. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you can apply it to hemp. And when you do this, you learn something about cannabis, because we're all sort of in on the secret. We know cannabis is a great plant. We know prohibition is wrong. But we need to educate ourselves, our classmates, and our professors. So if you're taking an environmental class, study all the great green things about hemp. You can make plastic out of hemp, biodegradable plastic out of hemp. It's there now. You can make all sorts of fuel out of hemp, out of the seeds. You can make diesel fuel out of the stalks. You can make ethanol, and out of the stalks you can also make wood pellets for your wood-burning stoves. So study that. Tree-free paper. Show how hemp could help end deforestation. Or study how hemp uses less herbicides than corn and cotton. Henry Ford developed a hemp plastic car made out of other plants in the 40s. Now they're making the Kestrel up in Canada with hemp composite panels. Other automakers like BMW and VW are using hemp in their car parts. And also hemp has this property called phytoremediation. Well, it will draw the toxins out of the soil and help clean up soil. So study that if you want to do some type of green environmental study. If you're an architecture major, you can design and build an entire house out of hemp. It's really crazy, but you can. This is hemp concrete. This is going to be the next new thing, where it's breathable, it sequesters CO2, so it helps reverse the greenhouse effect. It's a wonderful thing. You can have hemp particle board, hemp insulation, hemp composite shingles, and even hemp carpet and hemp fabric for your draperies. So design a hemp house. I think that'd be a great project if they have all these competitions where you can have a greenhouse. We'll have questions at the end. I got 30 seconds to slide. If you're engineering, develop a new processing machinery for harvesting or processing hemp. Because of reefer madness, there's been no research and development in this area, and hemp is a very tough fiber to process. So we need engineers to develop new machinery. Or you can study the tensile strength of hemp. Hemp grows 10 to 12 feet tall. The fiber runs the entire length of the stalk, so the tensile strength is very, very strong. So study what you could do with that. Make some kind of composite plastics out of that. Nutrition, if you're in a PE course or any kind of nutrition course, study how healthy hemp food is. It's incredible. It's high in protein, high in essential fatty acids, high in fiber, but it's also gluten-free and cholesterol-free. So you hear a lot about people that are allergic to peanuts or can't drink milk. No one is allergic to hemp. And why is that? Document that. Look at the hemp lotions, all the salves, the lotions, the oils. It's really good for your skin. The essential fatty acids help heal your skin. It helps solve all these problems. Do a research study on that. Study the economics of hemp. We all know that hemp products are more expensive because they have to import them from Canada and China and overseas. And it's also because we grow so small number of acres of hemp. What would happen if we could grow 1 or 2 million acres of hemp? What would that do to the prices? Or look at the multiplier effect. I think hemp could help revitalize rural America by keeping the money local. If farmers could grow their own food, fuel, and building materials, that money keeps getting spent over and over locally, helping the local economy. Develop a product, invent something, start a company. We're at the ground floor of this hemp industry, and there's so much room to grow. So if you have an idea for a hemp product, invent it, develop it, market it, make some money on it, start a company. But remember, we are in a war, the drug war, we're fighting that. And as in any war, the first ones over the hill are a lot of times the first casualties. So if you're starting a company or making a product, go slow, be conservative, but keep that in mind that it's going to be very hard. If you're in plant sciences or chemistry, study the chemical makeup of the stalk. There's a lot of cellulose in hemp stalks. So if you're a chemistry major, you can study all the different things you can make with that cellulose. Study what's in a hemp seed. What is contained in that humble hemp seed that makes it so healthy. Or study the flowers of the cannabis plant. There's over 60 cannabinoids that have been identified in the cannabis flower. Everybody knows about THC, but there's so many more, like CBD is good for spasms and for MS. So document these cannabinoids. Geography, agriculture, where can hemp be grown and where has hemp been grown. This shows from the USDA an American map showing basically you can grow hemp everywhere. And this is a map of Europe and Russia where every dot represents 1,250 acres of hemp. And this is from 1917. So study, why did they grow so much in Russia and Italy? Or study the soil type, the elevations, where does hemp grow? Where could it be grown? Then we can apply that to the future as we start this hemp industry. Cannabis hemp has been used by almost every civilization for thousands of years. And all of these civilizations have come up with their own names and words for cannabis and hemp. So, document this, document the history of all the different things. Cannabis is a Latin word. Sativa is Latin word for useful. So cannabis sativa is useful plant, which is really cool. Or you can look at the Chinese symbol for hemp, which is actually 2 hemp plants hanging upside down, drying in a shed. So it's very symbolic. But then we have the history. All civilizations have used hemp for everything from fiber to paper to food. So document that a little bit more. Or even art history. All the canvases, or a lot of the canvases that the masters painted with, was on hemp fiber, which is very cool. And the history of hemp in America is huge. You can just go down to Charlestown Navy Yard, go on the Constitution. All the sails and cordage on that ship used to be made out of hemp. So you could document the history of hemp in Boston. It's really wild. History of hemp, Civil War. There was a war in Lexington, Missouri, where soldiers hid behind hemp bales and pushed them up a hill and won this battle. And then, or you can have during World War II, when a few years the government allowed farmers to grow hemp. So we grew a couple 100,000 acres of hemp out in the Midwest during this Hemp for Victory campaign. And now this hemp still grows wild out in the Midwest. They can't get rid of it. But that could be the basis for the next hemp industry. So get into that. If you're nursing, pre-med, medical marijuana is going to be a huge thing. We all know that. And it can do so many great things, which is tremendous. But we need more research in this area. We need to document this better. We need to talk about that there's no lethal dose for marijuana. While thousands of people drink themselves to death or kill themselves with pharmaceuticals. And the delivery system, you don't have to smoke marijuana. You can vaporize it, you can eat it, or you can use it as a tincture. So which delivery system works best for which ailment? Women's and gender studies. They used to use women in the Reefer Madness era to say, if you smoke marijuana, all these bad things, what's going to happen to you. But then in World War II, they needed the women to process all this hemp fiber that we were growing for the war effort. And now we're coming around full circle. We have a lot of really strong women in the activist arena, like KC and Kara, who are really leading the charge. So you could study how women are involved with the whole prohibition a long time ago and as we go into the future. Economics of prohibition. I know you've been talking about this a lot at this conference. How much does it cost to arrest, try, put on probation, drug test, incarcerate, and just this whole cycle costs billions and billions of dollars. If we can document that, we can make people pay attention. Or look at the economics of medical marijuana. Pharmaceutical companies spend millions to develop pharmaceuticals while you can grow marijuana in your backyard. How much could be saved if people started using more cannabis and less pharmaceuticals? If you've got a sociology course, look at is there going to be a watershed event or a tipping point? Is there going to be society's aha moment, which we were talking about a little earlier today, when society finally says this prohibition policy is just horrible and it has to end? Or is it going to be a lot of baby steps like Prop 19 last year, which really raised everybody's awareness, or the hemp industry taking the DEA to court so we can grow hemp, or even taking the DEA to get more access to medical cannabis. So study that. Or the cannabis conundrum. You have all these different people that are pulling apart. Medical patients don't want it to be legal. Hemp farmers don't really care about legalization either. And even the activist groups fight within each other and between groups. And then you have teachers and parents that can't come out of the cannabis closet because they don't want to lose their jobs. So look how everybody's pulling apart from each other, and see if we can actually get everybody to start working. Yep, Bill Clinton was a hypocrite because he didn't admit that he smoked marijuana, but a lot of parents unfortunately have to be. If you're in political science, compare and contrast Holland, countries like Holland, where you can go into a coffee shop and buy hashish and marijuana in a safe environment, against China, where you can be executed for trafficking narcotics. Or compare different countries like Canada and the United States, or even within America. Why is Texas so much more conservative than California? Try to understand the political climate, then we can try to change the laws. Or even within California, San Francisco is a lot more liberal than San Diego. How has cannabis affected the philosophy and theology over time? We have Rastafari, who have used cannabis as part of their religion, and also in India they drink bhang. And then we have more current groups like the THC ministry in Hawaii who uses cannabis during their ministry. Or how has it affected great philosophers of our time over history and current philosophers like Ram Dass and Carl Sagan? How has cannabis factored into that? If we have any journalism majors, this is where you guys can really help by writing letters to the editors, write for your school newspaper. If there's a school radio station, go on your school radio station, have a program, talk about hemp, talk about cannabis, talk about prohibition. We need to open the debate. The media will not debate prohibition because they cannot win that argument. They know they can't logically win an argument about prohibition, so they won't even talk about it. We need to take it to them, write things, televise things, and just make sure we get the word out there. If you're in a music class, study how cannabis affected great musicians like Willie Nelson, Bob Marley, or study how cannabis smokers are portrayed, how they used to be portrayed. It was always negative. Now it's a lot more positive in some of the ways cannabis is shown in TV and movies. Or if you want to do a musical, the Caitlin County Hemp Wars, a woman in Cambridge she wrote a musical called the Caitlin County Hemp Wars about a family saving their farm growing hemp, and it's really great. So you can put on a little glee thing at your school. Or if you're in legal studies, try to figure out why politicians won't come out of the closet, why prohibition is a third rail of politics, or prove that prohibition is unconstitutional. In my heart of hearts, I know that it is unconstitutional. We just have to come up with that legal argument that makes the judges realize, hey, you're right. Or there's a lot of great groups. SSDP, you can work with Americans for Safe Access for Medical Vote Hemp in the hemp area. So there's a lot of different groups trying to change the laws. If you're in physics major, find out how much energy is in the humble hemp seed. It'd be a nice little experiment for you. Or you develop a hemp phone, biodegradable phone out of hemp fiber. Or if you're a computer science major, you can help me develop the Cannabis Curriculum Clearinghouse, which is going to be a huge online database of research that people put in and take out if they need it for their own research. But hopefully we can create this in the future, and then we can just really get this whole cannabis curriculum off the ground. And this is us in a field, a large part of the hemp industry in like 1999 up in Canada. So hopefully one day soon we're going to have another hemp field growing in America.